Hello everyone, I appreciate you being here with me today. Let's discuss a topic that has a wider impact than you might imagine. Persistent swelling, inflammation, and stiffness in the joints, particularly in the legs. The end effect is the same discomfort that restricts your range of motion, degrades your quality of life, and in certain situations, speeds up functional decline, regardless of the cause: aging, overuse, injury, or even metabolic dysfunction. Collagen is now one of the most important, and sometimes disregarded, factors in the health of joints and connective tissue. Today I'd want to take you over 8 foods that are high in collagen that can significantly improve the health of your joints, lower inflammation, and possibly make moving easier and less painful. Let's first examine the significance of collagen before delving into the list. A nutritional buzzword in recent years, bone broth is actually a genuinely functional diet with significant physiological significance, especially in relation to chronic inflammation and connective tissue health. Mechanistically speaking, bone broth is helpful because it provides a dense concentration of structural proteins and amino acids that aren't commonly found in modern diets, in addition to being warm and pleasant. Collagen marrow and cartilage are broken down into a rich bioavailable mixture that contains gelatin, glycine, proline, glutamine, and minerals like calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus when bones are boiled for extended periods of time, ideally 12 to 24 hours. It's important to realize that the benefits of these nutrients aren't arbitrary. They are exactly what our body needs to preserve and mend connective tissues, such as the extracellular matrix that keeps our tendons and ligaments strong, the fascia that envelops our muscles, and the cartilage in our joints. Consider glycine as an example. This amino acid is essential for the formation of collagen. The issue is that it is conditionally necessary, which means that our bodies are unable to produce enough to meet demands when they are under a lot of physiological stress or injury. Glycine is disproportionately low in the majority of contemporary diets, especially those that prioritize lean muscle meats while ignoring organ meats or connective tissues. Bone broth can assist in re-establishing this equilibrium. Additionally, it is impossible to overlook the gut health aspect of this. An increasing amount of data indicates that the stomach is frequently the site of systemic inflammation, particularly that which causes joint pain and swelling. Joint pain and persistent swelling can be made worse by the release of lipopolysaccharides, LPS, and other inflammatory mediators into the bloodstream due to compromised gut barrier integrity, sometimes known as leaky gut. Bone broth's gelatin and glutamine may aid in the healing of the intestinal lining, which may improve joint health by indirectly lowering systemic inflammation. The effect of bone broth on electrolytes and hydration is another overlooked benefit. It contains potassium, calcium, and magnesium, 3 minerals essential for intracellular signaling and neuromuscular function when prepared properly. Additionally, endurance athletes and those on low-carb or fasting regimes frequently experience a depletion of these minerals. To put it another way, it's a comprehensive recovery drink rather than just one that targets joints. It's important to remember that collagen formation is a vitamin C-dependent process in order to optimize the benefits of bone broth. Your body cannot convert proline and lysine into hydroxyproline and hydroxylacine, which are essential for stabilizing the collagen triple helix, if you don't get enough vitamin C. Practically speaking, you can increase the healing potential of your bone broth by serving it with a food source high in vitamin C, such as lemon juice, parsley, or even a small side of berries. Bone broth isn't a panacea, of course. It's a low-effort, high-impact diet that fits within a holistic plan for strengthening connective tissue resilience, lowering inflammation, and preserving mobility over time, but it won't reverse degenerative arthritis or replace strength training. According to my clinical experience, patients who regularly take bone broth as part of a more comprehensive, well-organized dietary regimen frequently report benefits in their skin, digestion, and even sleep quality in addition to joint health. One of the infrequent interventions that transcends domains is this one. Chicken skin and cartilage typically don't come to mind when we consider ways to improve joint health or increase our intake of collagen. In actuality, they are frequently thrown out because of textural preferences or dietary misconceptions regarding fat. From a biochemical and evolutionary perspective, however, These chicken parts are among the most collagen-rich, metabolically supportive tissues we can eat, particularly if we want to improve the structural resilience of ligaments, tendons, and joints. Type 2, collagen is highly abundant in chicken cartilage, particularly in the soft, gelatinous tissue that is found in the tracheae and at the extremities of bones. This is significant because articular cartilage, the tissue lining our joints and enabling smooth, friction-free motion, primarily consists of type 2 collagen. For instance, this particular kind of cartilage deteriorates over time in osteoarthritis, resulting in pain, inflammation, and limited movement. Supplementing with type 2 collagen, especially in its undernatured form, has been shown to improve function and lessen joint pain in people with early-stage osteoarthritis or joint discomfort brought on by exercise, even though we are unable to regenerate cartilage the way a salamander can. Regular consumption of chicken cartilage makes it a natural dietary source of that particular chemical. Another underappreciated player is the skin, which is frequently dreaded due to its fat content. It is a surprisingly concentrated source of type 1 and etheric collagen, which are essential for vascular integrity, skin elasticity, and the tensile strength of tendons and ligaments. It also contains healthy monounsaturated fats and some omega-6I, which we should ideally balance with omega-3. In addition to collagen, chicken skin includes glycosaminoglycans, such as hyaluronic acid, which help joints absorb stress, produce synovial fluid, and hydrate cartilage. To put it another way, consuming chicken skin and cartilage is similar to sending raw materials straight to the areas that require them the most. The fact that whole food collagen sources, such as skin and cartilage, are bundled with the cofactors required for efficient use is one of their main benefits. Glycosaminoglycans produced from cartilage, for example, are frequently more accessible and better tolerated in animal trials than separate supplements. Real-world results where food-based therapies frequently outperform synthetic isolates, particularly over extended periods of time, are probably influenced by this complete food matrix impact. Let's discuss the amino acid profile as well. Glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline are amino acids that are either absent or present in very small amounts in muscle meat, while they are abundant in cartilage and skin. Particularly noteworthy is glycine, which has cytoprotective and anti-inflammatory qualities in addition to being crucial for collagen formation. There is growing evidence that glycine helps lessen oxidative stress in cartilage maintenance cells called chondrocytes, particularly in inflammatory settings. For anyone coping with subclinical inflammation or persistent joint stress, that is extremely pertinent. Now, practically speaking, if you're deliberate, it's easy to include these tissues in your diet. For example, slow-cooked chicken wings or legs soften the skin and cartilage, making them more appetizing. Collagen can be further extracted and made more digestible by pressure cooking or by preparing leftover bones and cartilage in a broth, particularly for people with sensitive gastrointestinal tracts. Cooked cartilage can be successfully disguised while maintaining its health advantages for people who have a texture aversion by adding it to soups or stews. Naturally, it's crucial to remember that not all chicken is made equal. Choose organic or pasture-raised poultry if at all possible. These animals typically have healthier lipid profiles and higher micronutrient densities, and there is some evidence that the food and activity level of the animal affect the integrity of its connective tissue. Ultimately, incorporating chicken skin and cartilage into your diet is a return to a more traditional nose-to-tail eating pattern that not only reduces waste, but also rebalances a contemporary nutritional landscape that frequently places too much emphasis on muscle meat and too little on structural nutrients. In my experience, the benefits are frequently subtly significant when people reintroduce these elements, whether for skin health, joint support, or overall vigor. It's a small change with a big effect. Egg whites are commonly misinterpreted, confined to the world of low-fat meal plans or bodybuilding regimens, stripped of their yolk and eaten mainly for their protein. However, if we look more thoroughly at them from the perspectives of connective tissue physiology and biochemistry, we find that egg whites have a unique and significant value. Proline, a crucial amino acid needed for collagen formation, is found in them in one of the highest concentrations seen in nature. Please let me know where you're coming from today before we begin. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have and leave a comment below. Additionally, remember to click the subscribe button and enable notifications so you don't miss any of Senior Health Tips' top health advice. Proline becomes a crucial component when discussing the development or preservation of structural integrity in ligaments, tendons, joints, and even the vascular endothelium. Additionally, one of the easiest and cleanest ways to supply that substrate is using egg whites. Glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline are the three amino acids that make up the majority of collagen. Although your body is capable of producing proline on its own, it may not always do so in adequate amounts, especially when you are physically stressed, irritated, injured, or aging. Our innate ability to preserve collagen-rich tissues deteriorates with age, partly due to decreased endogenous production of these amino acids. Egg whites provide a highly bioavailable, low-calorie, fat-free way to contribute to the amino acid pool needed for continuous collagen remodeling and repair, which is where dietary support becomes essential. Egg whites offer a more focused boost to the collagen synthesis pathway than other protein sources that can have higher levels of leucine or methionine, which are significant in and of themselves, but not very crucial for collagen. This is particularly important when combined with glycine-rich foods like bone broth or gelatin and enough vitamin C, which serves as a cofactor for the hydroxylation events required to create stable collagen helices. To put it another way, egg whites are an essential upstream input in a broader biochemical assembly line and do not function independently. Practically speaking, egg whites are extremely adaptable. Without adding extra calories or inflammatory fats, they can be boiled, whipped, mixed into smoothies, or even added to high-protein baked dishes. This makes them particularly useful in dietary plans that try to control energy consumption while optimizing recovery from surgery, tendon resilience, or muscle preservation. Meeting increased protein requirements without consuming too many saturated fats or calories is a real worry for people with orthopedic injuries or undergoing rehabilitation. A clean solution is provided by egg whites. It's also important to note the immunological component. Ovalbumin, ovatransferrin, and lysozyme are among the proteins found in egg whites that have immunomodulatory and antibacterial properties. Even while it might not have a direct effect on joint integrity, this adds to the body's general inflammatory environment, which has an indirect effect on the turnover of connective tissue. However, a small percentage of people may be immunogenic to egg whites, especially if they eat them uncooked or in large quantities. It's worthwhile to investigate tolerance for those individuals and make the necessary adjustments. However, boiled egg whites are quite digestible and metabolically neutral for most people. Additionally, egg whites are almost completely free of fat, cholesterol, and carbs. They have gained popularity among bodybuilders and people following calorie-restricted diets because of this, but they also complement more nutrient-dense foods like egg yolks, leafy greens, or fatty fish very well without altering the macronutrient balance. They are similar to a modular component that can be plugged into practically any dietary framework to assist muscle regeneration, joint health, or just increasing the intake of high-quality protein without causing unexpected metabolic trade-offs, according to the theory of systems-based nutrition. In the end, egg whites are a strategically valuable food because of their role in collagen synthesis and overall structural health, even though they may not contain collagen directly. They are metabolically efficient, well-tolerated, and simple to implement. They are not a panacea, but rather one of many tools that help patients maintain the kind of structural resilience that allows for longevity, not only in years lived, but in function retained. And I frequently suggest them as part of a collagen-supporting nutritional regimen in my clinical practice. Sardines are frequently one of the most obvious yet potent foods when discussing nutrient density. Foods that provide a disproportionate quantity of health-promoting substances per calorie, especially when eaten whole, including the bones. Few foods have the nutritional richness and bioavailability of sardines from the perspective of skeletal integrity, joint health, and inflammation reduction. What's very intriguing is that they include a number of essential cofactors that enhance the collagen's functionality in the body, in addition to the collagen components we're focusing on for connective tissue health. Let's begin by discussing the bones. Sardines are a great source of calcium, phosphate, and yes, collagen. And when you eat them whole, as they are usually prepared, you're eating tiny, soft, edible bones. Type I collagen, which makes up a significant amount of our tendons, ligaments, and bone matrix, is abundant in these bones. Sardine bones provide a full matrix of minerals and proteins in the exact ratios the body needs to reconstruct bone and sustain joint architecture, in contrast to supplements that frequently isolate a single nutrient. This is especially important for older populations, as joint function and bone mineral density loss frequently happen simultaneously and in concert. Sardines' nutrient stack, however, is where their true magic is found. Sardines are one of the best natural sources of accessible omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, in addition to collagen and minerals that promote bone. It is commonly known that these long-chain fatty acids can reduce inflammation, especially in joint tissues. Actually, a number of studies have demonstrated that regular consumption of marine omega-3 fatty acids can help people with inflammatory arthritis have less pain and stiffness in their joints. It may also be protective for those who are experiencing early joint deterioration. Systemically reducing inflammation is not the only goal. Additionally, omega-3s have a direct impact on cartilage metabolism by changing the production of enzymes that break down cartilage, such as MMPs, a matrix metal of protein tests. Sardines also provide high-quality protein with an amino acid composition that supports the production of collagen, the same building components needed to assemble and stabilize new collagen fibers. Glycine, proline, and lysine are present in them. For people undergoing physical rehabilitation, resistance training, or managing chronic joint wear and tear, this is especially crucial. A highly effective nutritional environment for repair and maintenance is produced when the signaling omega-3 minerals and the substrate amino acids are combined into a single package. Then there is the factor of vitamin D. One of the few foods that naturally contains significant amounts of vitamin D3, which is essential for immunological regulation and calcium metabolism, is sardines. Sardines are particularly beneficial in a joint-centric dietary approach, since vitamin D insufficiency is linked to both bone fragility and chronic inflammation. Additionally, you receive a healthy amount of coenzyme Q10, vitamin B12, and selenium, nutrients essential for tissue repair and mitochondrial function. Sardines are so alluring not just because of their nutritional value, but also because of how easily available it is. During the canning or cooking process, the collagen in the small bones and connective tissue is partially hydrolyzed, which facilitates absorption and digestion. There is no complicated recipe, no prep time, and no costly supplements. It is ready to eat, shelf-stable, and highly economical. This becomes a behavioral barrier rather than a physiological one for those who have a fish aversion or have trouble chewing bones. Blending sardines into foods like mashed avocado, tomato-based sauces, or savory spreads is a useful way to subdue the flavor and cover up the texture. Like many nutrient-dense foods, preferences tend to change with familiarity with time, especially when gains in skin elasticity, joint mobility, or even energy levels are seen. Sardines stand out as a modest but amazingly complete diet in a society that frequently prioritizes isolated nutrients and high-end supplements. From the standpoint of systems biology, they simultaneously address several goals: lowering inflammation, promoting the synthesis of collagen, providing essential minerals, and enhancing the structural soundness of bones and joints. From that perspective, sardines are a basic food for long-term orthopedic resilience, not just a source of protein. Pig skin and pork rinds have a peculiar role in contemporary diets. They were written off as unhealthy remnants of low-bro consumption for decades, excessively processed, high in fat, and lacking in actual nutritional value. However, that story overlooks a crucial issue. The first of them is pig skin, which, when properly sourced and ingested, can be a surprisingly efficient whole food source of bioavailable collagen and structurally essential amino acids, particularly when consumed in the form of minimally processed swine rinds. It is an excellent illustration of how food that was once thought to be waste can really be transformed into a useful part of a diet that supports connective tissue. You must begin with the fact that pig skin is nearly 100% collagen in order to appreciate its worth. In particular, it primarily consists of type 1 and type 2 collagen, which are the same kinds that are present in your bone, tendons, ligaments, and skin. This collagen is partially broken down when pig skin is rendered or puffed in, as in pork rinds, which improves its absorbability and digestibility. This is similar to the gelatin made from animal hides or bones, but it comes in a different shape. First, even though pork rinds are frequently categorized as snack foods, the biochemical truth is that they contain a dense package of collagen peptides, proline, glycine, and hydroxypyryl B, which your body can use to strengthen and repair connective tissue structures. It's important to take a moment to explain the function of proline and glycine. Since they are fundamental to our debate, the first would be that most individuals need glycine, especially B, in amounts that are simply not obtained by a modern diet high in muscular meat. Actually, a growing amount of research indicates that maintaining methylation, equilibrium, glue-down formation, and tissue regeneration depend on balancing the intake of methionine and glycine. Methionine is found in lean animal protein. Glycine-rich pig skin provides a counterweight that helps reestablish a more evolutionarily suitable amino acid ratio, while also supporting joint and tendon integrity. However, industrial pork rinds, especially the flavored shelf-stable types, can contain seed oils, which are artificial flavorings and preservatives that counteract many of the health benefits, as is the case with many animal-based food sources and processing materials. These additives may counteract the anti-inflammatory properties of collagen peptides by introducing pro-inflammatory substances including oxidized omega-6 fats and advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. Therefore, if you're going to eat pork rinds or pig skin, it's important to choose ones that are puffed or air-dried with as little ingredients as possible, ideally just salt and pork skin. Even better, you have complete control over the inputs when you make them at home with pasture-raised pork. Let's now discuss the topic of moderating. Pork rinds have a high protein content, but they are also high in calories and lacking in other vital nutrients including vitamins, minerals, and polyphenols. The first is that they don't have the hydrophilic qualities of collagen supplies derived from gelatin or broth, which can help maintain the integrity of the barrier. Therefore, even if they are a good method to boost collagen consumption, they should not be viewed as the mainstay of a larger collagen supportive strategy. An imbalanced nutrient profile would result from relying too much on them at the expense of other sources such as bone, broth, fish skin, or chicken cartilage. It's also critical to consider this from the perspective of metabolic context. Pork rinds could be a satisfying and effective snack for someone on a low-carb or ketogenic diet that complements their overall macronutrient plan. Conversely, the saturated fat content may necessitate a more complex debate regarding dietary fat sources, consumption levels, and personalized response, even while it is not intrinsically detrimental for someone with dyslipidemia or a history of cardiovascular disease. The first would be short pig skin and pork rinds, which, when handled purposefully and appropriately, would be a clever way to utilize the collagen-rich sections of the animal that we've mostly neglected. First of all, while they are not a superfood and by no means a nutritional panacea, they do offer a special and useful tool for promoting the health of connective tissue, especially when paired with strength training, nutrient diversity, vitamin B, and certain recovery regimens. It serves as yet another reminder that occasionally the portions of animals that we once threw away can provide just what the contemporary diet lacks. In reality, the human body's connective tissue network, which includes ligaments, tendons, cartilage, and fascia, is a complex B-dynamic matrix that is primarily composed of collagen. The issue is that the majority of contemporary diets don't account for the system's need for raw materials. We typically eat ground beef, chicken breast, pig chops, and skeletal muscle almost exclusively, ignoring the organ meats and connective-rich pieces. However, it's those overlooked areas, especially tripe, tendons, and other meats that are high in collagen. The first would be those that have a nutritional profile that is in line with the tissues that we are attempting to preserve or repair. Organ meats such as tripe and tendons include high levels of type 1 and type 2 collagen, according to structural biology. Our own circulatory structures, skin, and ligaments include the same kinds. Supports like folklore are not the point here. Providing the body with amino acids and micronutrients in a manner that closely mimics what is needed for collagen formation and extracellular matrix maintenance would be the first of those. Glycine is delivered in large quantities per line via these incisions. 3 amino acids, the first of which is hydroxyproline, are either conditionally necessary or become rate-limiting when the body is under stress. Let's take a closer look at this. The first of those is glycine, which is especially important and frequently insufficiently produced by your body. B, it is essential for the formation of collagen's triple helix structure and also plays a part in the generation of glutathione, anti-inflammatory activities, and even neurotransmission. In other words, when you eat collagen-rich foods like tripe or tendons, you're not only nourishing your connective tissues, you're also influencing systemic processes that impact inflammation, healing, and even longevity. However, these meals are beneficial for more than only collagen. Minerals such as zinc, copper, and manganese, which are all enzymatic Kofic factors in collagen cross-linking and antioxidant defense, are also abundant in organ meats, especially those derived from slow-cooked or pressure-cooked connective tissues. Conventional nutrition tends to neglect these trace elements. But they are crucial for preserving connective tissue structural integrity and shielding it from oxidative damage. For instance, tripe is especially rich in zinc and selenium, 2 elements that have been shown to have important roles in immunological regulation and joint integrity. The technique of preparation is important. Slow, moist heating is necessary for collagen-dense cuts in order to hydrolyze the stiff fibers and produce gelatin, a more digestible form of collagen. Consider stews, long-simmered soups, or tendon broths that have been pressure-cooked. This technique not only increases the bioavailability of certain cuts, but also makes them more appetizing. These amino acids are effectively absorbed after they are converted to gelatin, and can be directly integrated into tissue healing pathways, especially when combined with physical therapy or loading-based exercise. The first of those is the one that gives collagen remodeling its mechanical signal. This also has to do with intestinal health. The intestinal mucosal barrier, which is essential for controlling systemic inflammation, can be strengthened by the gelatin and collagen obtained from these cuts. First of all, persistent joint discomfort isn't usually caused by normal wear and tear. Low-grade systemic inflammation that starts in the stomach frequently mediates it. Therefore, promoting gut integrity with meals high in collagen can have positive effects on the immune system, joints, and even the body's ability to recover from physical traumas. People who regularly consume organ meats, such as liver, tripe, heart, or tendon, tend to have superior soft tissue resilience, which is one of the most significant clinical observations I've noticed over the years. This is both biologically possible and anecdotal. Consuming not only muscle but also connective tissues and nutrient-rich organs is the first example of how we evolved to eat from head to toe. Compared to the present muscle-only diet, that pattern provided our ancestors with a far wider and more balanced supply of amino acids and micronutrients. Of course, palatability and accessibility are actual obstacles. Most people don't consume tendon soup or tripe stew as children. The first is that you can start reintroducing these foods in modest but significant ways if you have a little culinary interest and realize that you're eating them for structural resilience rather than just taste. Add finely minced connective tissue to ground meats. Add tripe to stews or chili, or mix shredded tendon into a slow-cooked broth. Organ meats like tripe and tendons are ultimately worth considering if you're concerned about longevity, not simply living longer, but living better with retained joint function, strength, and mobility. From the standpoint of tissue supportive systems, they are among the most intelligently aligned foods you can eat, even though they aren't glamorous or trendy. Enhancing the health of connective tissue would be the first of those. Whether we're discussing skin structure, tendon durability, or joint interability, the subject of whether whole meals alone are adequate frequently comes up. Although putting food first is typically a good idea, there are some use situations where a more focused therapeutic approach is required. This is where taking supplements containing collagen peptides can be quite beneficial. Collagen peptides are hydrolyzed, standardized, and accessible in contrast to complete dietary sources of collagen, which are frequently encased in intricate tissue matrices. One of the first is that they are a dependable and effective means of maintaining the structural proteins that literally keep the body together. Collagen peptides, or chains of amino acids that are produced by the enzymatic hydrolysis of full-length collagen, usually from marine, pig, or cow connective tissue, would be the first of those. The collagen is broken down by this pre-digestion process into smaller pieces that are easily absorbed by the small intestine and reach the bloodstream in less than an hour. The first is that glycine and proline are abundant in these peptides. The first would be hydroxyproline, one of 3 amino acids that are disproportionately present in the body's collagenous tissues, but are frequently absent from a typical Western diet that prioritizes processed foods and muscular meats. Collagen peptides are special because of their specificity. Collagen peptides appear to have a more specific destiny than the majority of food proteins, which are absorbed as generic amino acids and utilized wherever required. Following ingestion, these peptides preferentially concentrate in the tissues of the skin, cartilage, and tendons, according to a number of clinical investigations employing isotopic tracers. It's not magic. That's just biochemistry identifying and elevating molecular constituents where their structural significance is greatest. It's a big implication. Collagen peptide consumption does more than merely increase protein intake. The exact tissues that require these raw elements are receiving them from us. The first of them is that the context and timing of consumption are important. The combination of mechanical stress and collagen peptides yields one of the most reproducible results in the literature. To put it another way, ingesting 15 grams of collagen peptides 30 to 60 minutes prior to engaging in resistance training or rehabilitation exercises considerably raises the rates at which collagen is synthesized in target tissues, such as ligaments and tendons. A typical example of supply and demand is this one. You supply the mechanical tension stimulation and the amino acid substrate. The first of those would be more renovation and repairs as a result. It's a low-risk, high-reward intervention technique for anyone recuperating from an injury or looking to stop age-related connective tissue deterioration. The metabolic neutrality of collagen peptides is another aspect of those that is frequently disregarded. The first of those would be high in branched-chain amino acids and has the ability to spike insulin and mTOR, in contrast to Y or casein. These anabolic drivers are not abundant in collagen peptides. They are therefore a suitable choice for people who want to encourage tissue healing without necessarily encouraging too many growth signals. Cancer risk reduction and metabolic disorders are two things that may be significant in the context of aging. The structural support is provided without excessively promoting cellular growth. Collagen peptides are not a full protein, though. They have a protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, PDCA, of nearly 0, and are noticeably deficient in key amino acids like tryptophan. They are nonetheless useful despite this. It just indicates that they were incorporated into a larger protein strategy rather than being used solely. Consider them as a physiologically particular supplement aimed at tissue-specific results rather than as a standalone source of nutrients. Another important factor to consider is quality control. The molecular weight, purity of the source, and possible impurities of collagen peptides can all differ significantly. For instance, the first of those, marine collagen, may provide improved absorption, but raises heavy metal issues if improperly supplied. Although bovine collagen has been extensively researched and is typically less expensive, it should be grass-fed and subjected to third-party testing. Look for items that disclose the peptide content and offer transparency on testing and source. In my clinical practice, I frequently suggest collagen peptides to older people who are worried about maintaining function, not just athletes and rehabilitation patients. Collagen peptides are a logical step in reinforcing your joints, tendons, and ligaments with the proper substrates if you care about staying active. The first of which would be independent and pain-free as you age. They are one of the few supplements that truly perform what they say they will when taken purposefully and in conjunction with physical stimulation. They assist you in rebuilding what inflammation and injury are continuously attempting to destroy. Before we begin, I would like to know where you are coming from today. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have and leave a comment below. Additionally, remember to click the subscribe button and enable notifications so you don't miss any of Senior Health Tips' top health advice.